Well, staying with Israel, the EU's top court has ruled that food products from illegal Israeli settlements in occupied Palestinian territories must be clearly labelled. The European Court of Justice said this would help consumers to make choices based on ethical considerations. The court said Tel Aviv labels products from illegally occupied Palestinian territories as made in the State of Israel. The ECJ said the occupied territories indicate a state policy of population transfer in violation of international humanitarian law. It said the EU's regulations on labelling the origin of goods allow consumers to make more informed choices. Well, for more on this story, we're joined by our correspondent Mia Alberti, who's in Brussels. Mia, thank you for joining us on Indus News. So tell us, what made the ECJ take this issue up of labelling the produce from the occupied territories, and will Israel abide by it?
Well, initially this case was brought forward by this Israeli winery against the French government, but then during the case the governments of the Netherlands, Sweden and even the European Commission joined in and supported the French case. So this might have been a signal for the European Court of Justice that there is enough support across the bloc to make what were already existing guidelines from 2015 into now legally binding laws across the EU. So this happened during the case, and of course it is an enormous backfiring for this Israeli winery. And what consumers might expect now is, instead of saying and label saying made in Israel in products made in occupied territories, they will be seeing labels such as made in the Golan or made in East Jerusalem, for example.
Mia, we've also got the Palestinian-led BDS movement, the Boycott, Divest and Sanctions movement, and it's been pushing this kind of stuff for years, despite some opposition from EU governments. But now you're saying France and other EU countries are willing to say that, look, these products need to state that it's not made in the State of Israel. Has there been any reaction from these European countries about this ECJ ruling today?
Well, the European Commission spokesperson Mina Andreeva told reporters just a few hours ago, that this decision by the European Court goes along with the EU's long-standing policy that the consumers cannot be misled and confused by the labelling, and that she also added that the EU continues to consider as illegal the settlements outside of the Israeli borders decided in 1967. But then she was also very diplomatic and careful in adding that the EU and Israel continue to be very close partners, that the EU continues committed to work with Israel, and that it rejects any movement by the BDS organization to isolate Israel, and that the EU continues to reject any calls for boycotts or sanctions against Israel. Of course, a very diplomatic response, but might not be enough for Israel to overcome this very bad news coming from the EU for them today.
Mia, thank you. That was Mia Alberti, our correspondent in Brussels.